After I have managed to climb the Mount Everest, that was the final apogee of a very long preparation period. I mean, ever since I was a teenager, Everest has always been this splendid, outstanding goal, a big goal. So after that, I was seeking for something more, something to reach for, something to prepare for, something that probably no one has ever done before. And when, in the summer of 2018, Sasha Abramov visited me, I mean, he's the person who got me addicted to the mountains in the first place. He's an incredible alpine climber. He's very good at organizing all of these expeditions. Only this year, he's climbing the Everest for 12th or 13th time. So we were sitting and discussing, and he really loved this idea of devising something that's different from what he has been doing as well. And quite independently, when we met the next time, he actually came up with the same idea that I had. Traveling around the globe, but not alongside the longitude, but alongside the latitude, across the two poles. That's something that has never been done before, and it's actually quite hard to do. And we decided to drive. Without using planes, drive cars without leaving the ground or, well, the water. We're either driving or just taking a ship. Ronald Finus did it in a way, but no one has done it only driving cars without using any other modes of transportation and crossing both poles in one go while only driving wheeled vehicles. Well, as far as Antarctica goes, it's pretty straightforward. Well, not to mention other continents. However, the team approached me because for quite a while now, I've been designing amphibian vehicles. Those are cars specifically designed to drive down the drifting ice of the Arctic Ocean. Those vehicles are tested and tried, and they have traveled to the North Pole already. So they invited me to participate, and things kind of got going. We're gonna be driving 3 types of vehicles. Emil is in charge of the first 2 types. Those are continental vehicles, the Fords, and Arctic trucks, which we will be driving in the northern part of Canada and, of course, Antarctica.
We did do our first international expedition in 1996. This was in Antarctica. We sent 2 cars with the Swedish scientific program to Vasa, actually, in Antarctica. And they drove up to the Antarctica Plateau, did 3,000 kilometers, did some drilling, and they did some scanning of the ice shelf. And so this is basically the background of our first expedition. We crossed Greenland in '99, and then the big one, or the most famous one, was when we take Top Gear to the magnetic North Pole from Resolute to the 1996 magnetic North Pole. From this, we started in Antarctica again, and since then we've been in Antarctica, and we've covered 371,000 kilometers on the Antarctica Plateau. So our experience there is second to none, I would say. And in Antarctica, we are doing well in terms of fuel consumption and speed. So compared to the traditional expeditions that people are doing, like on the belt vehicles, our estimate is 5 to 10 times less fuel and 3 to 5 times faster. And time and fuel is like gold in Antarctica.
So we will be driving Emil's cars in Antarctica. But as we continued working, Emil also took charge of maintenance and preparation of continental vehicles.
Our role was quickly we take the Arctic and we take the Antarctica. But as we've been working on, we things are getting kind of mixed up, so we're getting involved with everything. and there are more people coming into it. Our cars don't float, so we will not go to the North Pole. So we have another, and there's another program on the Himalayas, which are excellent, very, very capable vehicles for these things.
This is our third generation of vehicles that we have been constantly improving. And I believe that now we can say for sure that the design has been quite polished and it's ready for such a tough journey. We will be starting from the Isles of the archipelago in the northern Canada, from Cambridge Bay, up to the North Pole, driving on the drifting ices of the Arctic Ocean. Further, down from the North Pole we'll cross Greenland. Yelagin designed this car, tailor-made this car so that it could reach the North Pole. It's specifically geared for that. And I should tell you that with any other vehicle of this class and functionality, well, the amphibian vehicle per se, there are issues. Issues that have not been solved. Like, for example, all of them are heavy. One of the problems that Yelagin solved with Yemele is the weight. It's as light as possible. Because this car is meant to drive on the ice, and Yelagin fixed many other things, specifically for Arctica. Well, what does Yemele stand out in the crowd among competition in the class? Well, first of all, weight. We're twice lighter than the competition. Of course, we worked a lot for that. The bodies were assembled using aviation-grade riveting. 15,000 holes, 15,000 rivets in every body. And we did it all by hand, since every car is custom-built to order. But it was all worth it. 4 men can easily pick up the body of this car and carry it by hand in a workshop. The weight is less than 300 kilograms. We used aviation-grade duralium for the body, and it's only 1 millimeter thick. The car can float, and chair in the cake, it's the house on wheels.
So if I explain a little bit the transglobal vehicle group or teams. So we have 3 types of vehicles. We have what we call the continental vehicles, continental crossing vehicles. These are vehicles that are slightly bigger tires, modified to have things for your convenience in driving, if it's on a highway in America or if it's on a bad road in Africa. But basically nothing extreme for these vehicles. They will be accompanied by one that has a bigger conversion, which is a hybrid, which is very interesting for us to try a hybrid around the world. This is the F-150 hybrid. It's converted for 44-inch tires. It's already driven up in the Arctic. And it's an F-150. This car is going to give us more insight into running this all around the world. So these are 5 vehicles. And their role is to drive from New York to Yellowknife, from Reykjavik in Iceland to the east of Iceland, and then again from Denmark to Cape Town, and then from Punta Arenas in Chile up to New York again. Then we have the second team, which are called Himalayas. These are vehicles that are developed by Vasily Yelagin. These vehicles are basically built from scratch by his clever mind and experience in polar explorations. 6x6 with more categorized like an ATVs. These are not vehicles meant for street use, or they're not, their beauty is they are super light, and they also are very capable, but they also require a very special knowledge for operation and driving. So you need a very specific team. This team is going to take the group from Cambridge Bay in Canada all the way to the North Pole, down to Greenland, and then along the Greenland ice cap to where we can exit, which will be Sisjumit in Greenland. And so then the third group is are the 6x6 Arctic trucks F350 new cars that we are developing. And their first role is going to take them from Yellowknife to Cambridge Bay. And then again, they are going to take them across all the crossing that is done in Antarctica, which is likely going to be about 5,000 to 8,000 kilometers.
You understand, lately there have been too many unpredictable and unexpected events that made us delay the beginning of the expedition. Pandemic, then the war in Ukraine. So it's been almost 5 years since the moment we devised this idea, so we have been moving quite gradually. And it's been a long way of preparation, so I think now we can say that we have a few dedicated areas of responsibilities, and of course, as a result of kind of a natural selection, there are a few people responsible for those. Alexei Prudkov, who is in charge of all of the communications, technical supervision and maintenance, computers, IT, connectivity, and he will be in charge of establishing and running the kind of a mission center for the drive when we will be on the road. 24/7, that mission control will have to support us. Of course, there's an incredible amount of detail related to ride planning, route designing, bookings, border crossing, tickets, hotels, you name it. But all of those arrangements must be done by somebody. So we have Cedric, who is in charge of that. It's a long drive. Cedric has been designing it in detail for almost a year now. It's a real-time, non-stop immersion because during the continental crossings, we will be sleeping every night in a new place. Another team member, Misha Bulgach, when he found out about the expedition, he really wanted to help somehow. Well, eventually I asked him, since he has a lot of experience in that area, I asked him to arrange the transportation of Yemelas, those amphibian vehicles that were at that moment produced in Russia in the city of Yekaterinburg. So I asked Misha to transport those cars to our starting point in Canada. There's this town in the north of Canada called Yellowknife, and it's a bigger deal than you may think, especially during the pandemic that was roaring back then. It literally took us 6 months to transport the vehicles. You must prepare, you must do the thing, and the vehicles must be delivered for a particular date when we were supposed to be starting the test drive. Misha really loves the project. He's been helping a lot with preparation of cars, maintenance, equipment, in a very professional way. Another team member, Zurab Sanikidze, has been helping with most of the issues in Canada for us. Well, Alexei Safonov is my friend. We have conquered a lot of mountain peaks together. He is an avid traveler and is a very reliable partner who is very comfortable to work with. And when we came up with the idea, he said, "Put me on the list, and where do I sign up for this?" Sergei Larin. We first met with Sergei when he was leading the expedition to the Aconcagua mountain in the South America. So he is the mountain guide, and he has tremendous experience of expeditions, and in particular, autonomous expeditions. But most importantly, he's a medical expert who can provide first aid in almost any circumstances, which is particularly important when you are in the middle of nowhere. He's also a very reliable and experienced partner, a very calm and confident person, very meticulous, by the way, which is exceptionally important in such a long expedition. Andrew came on board, a very prominent racer. He was very excited about the project. He's a beautiful person. He's great at communications.
My involvement with a round-the-world car expedition really started about 10 years ago as I was retiring from car racing, and I wanted to put together a challenge, a new challenge for me, to do about the hardest thing you could do with cars. And for me, that was to drive from one of the Earth's poles to the other completely on the surface, a wheeled challenge to go from one end of the world to the other. And so I did a lot of research, talked to a lot of people from Antarctic experience with Arctic experience, and also through the Darien jungle between Panama and Colombia. Put it all together, made budgets, talked to TV networks, talked to auto manufacturers, but we never quite got it over the line. We never quite got the money together. So then about 2 years ago, Emil Grimson from Arctic Trucks, who I had met when I was working on Top Gear, the car TV show, and he had engineered the episode where the Top Gear host ran from Resolute to the magnetic North Pole, and other episodes that we worked with him on also. We became friendly in my research, and so he called me a couple of years ago and said, you know, Andrew, that idea of yours to drive from pole to pole, well, somebody's going to do it, and in fact, they're going to go all the way around the world. So I should probably introduce you, and he did. And about 18 months ago, I began discussions with the Transglobal Car Group to be involved, and in fact became sort of a main expedition member and a media spokesperson or host for the media. And I didn't get a confirmation that I would be on the expedition until only about 2 or 3 weeks before this Canadian pretest of the Transglobal Car Expedition. So it was a bit of a rush in the end, but it worked out really, really well. And I'm extremely excited to be here because in order to do something like this, you have to do it with the commitment and the scale and the investment and the relationships to make it truly viable. Safe, possible, but also to celebrate the spirit of adventure and exploration that's involved.
I must speak about Christian Haas, a prominent glaciologist. We met in 2013. He equipped us with the ice meter. Christian trained us in detail on how to use it to measure the thickness of ice and the depth of the snow coverage throughout the entirety of our drive.
I'm Christian Haas. I'm a geophysicist from Germany, and I'm doing the ice thickness measurements here. So this is the ice meter, an EM31, and it works by induction. So there is a transmitter coil over here and a receiver coil over here, and the transmitter coil creates the electromagnetic field that goes into the water and comes back up. We can measure the thickness of the sea ice because the ice is floating on seawater, and the seawater underneath is salty, and we can detect the difference between the ice and the water.